Today, a remarkable peek behind the curtain at what's been going on at the White House over a particularly wild 2 weeks, even by Donald Trump's standards. He's apparently consumed by what to do at the border. From the Washington Post reporting, quote, Trump's increasingly erratic behavior over the last 12 days, since he first threatened to seal the border in a series of tweets on March 29th, has alarmed top Republicans, business officials, and foreign leaders who fear that his emotional response might exacerbate problems at the border, harm the U.S. economy, and degrade national security. And that volatile attitude enabled by his acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney. From the New York Times profile on him today, quote, for the first time since taking office, Mr. Trump has a chief of staff who has made it his job to encourage rather than restrain the president's conservative instincts, to let Trump be Trump, in effect. The table is back. Michael Steele, the only problem with that is letting Trump be Trump isn't the same thing as emboldening his conservative instincts. Well, it's emboldening his crazy.
I would have I take exception to the use of the word conservative.
Me too. That was the only part of the story that I was like,
Let us be clear. There is nothing conservative about any of this, you know, from the Russia stuff to trade wars and all of that. So, yeah, look, Mulvaney has figured out that sweet spot for however long he's in that sweet spot to be able to keep Trump at on pace and away from other things. And so let Trump be Trump and do his thing. But let us be clear, this is not conservatism in any way, shape, or form. It is Trump's own brand of whatever Trumpism is, and Mulvaney has figured out how to keep that elixir going and to keep the president, because he knows he can't control the hot spots. It's like, you know, trying to, you know, keep hot water from boiling up. It is what it is. So appreciate what it is and navigate all the other spaces. And that's why you're seeing now the president cherry picking his secretaries, and Mulvaney's where to be found in that process. Nowhere.
He's acting. It's your paper's great. It's your great reporting. Talk about the story.
Yeah, well, not my personal reporting, but my colleagues at the Post. And, you know, they documented the 12 days from when the president first threatened to close the border till now, where has this huge upheaval at the Department of Homeland Security, not just removing Kirstjen Nielsen, forcing her to quit because he was so frustrated with her leadership at DHS, but moving out other people too, the other officials, because he's so bothered by the rising number of border crossings, and he can't handle that. He's been emotional about this issue for 2 weeks now, and there's a genuine fear inside the White House, inside the government, that he's going to do something really rash, and that there aren't those guardrails there to try to stop him. And who does he replace these officials at DHS with? Are they going to be yes men in the mold of Stephen Miller, or are they going to be more moderating forces? We'll have to see. But Kirstjen Nielsen was pretty tough on immigration policy. She's the person who helped execute the family separation policy. You don't get a whole lot tougher than that.
Yeah, we're bleeped if they're getting tougher than Kirstjen Nielsen. Here's the president trying to answer some of the questions you raised about who's in charge.
Now, Stephen is an excellent guy. He's a wonderful person. People don't know him. He's been with me from the beginning. He's a brilliant man. And frankly, there's only one person that's running it. You know who that is? It's me.
As if that were unclear.
Well, and he's a man. Yeah. He's a man of action, right? But his action has no plan whatsoever. So announce you're closing down the borders, take away the money from 3 Central American countries, and then you have a crisis at the border, and you have no one in charge. So, yeah, it's on him.
Mark Leibovich made a great point yesterday. His biggest problem isn't that the policies weren't brutal enough or harsh enough. It's that they didn't work. He has failed at the one thing he was going to do better than anybody else, and that was secure the country from illegal immigration.
Yeah, and, you know, Nicole, you and I both worked in the White House. What's really stood out, I think, to White House veterans about the first years of the Trump administration is, as crazy as it's been, there really haven't been any external crises that have forced the president under stress. Yeah. And we always wonder what would happen when one of those crises finally came. And it may be what's happening at the border now is that crisis. And so as bad as the first 2 years have been, he's been running in clean air and messing it up. Now he's in choppy air. And he's basically fired every single official who has any responsibility for it. He's listening to his crazy White House aide, Stephen Miller. He's telling people he's in charge. He's closing the borders. I think we may be seeing a new page of Trump's performance under pressure. And here's my prediction: it won't be very good.
Yeah, I think I take the president at his last word there, and it is always the case, and it is how he has narrowed the circle around him. You start out with a lot of folks who have very important jobs around town, and they suddenly get picked off one by one. You have an acting chief of staff, you have an acting secretary of this, you got an acting. And at the end of the day, what did he say? It doesn't matter. There's only one person in charge, that's me. I call the shots all the time, anytime, anywhere. And so he doesn't need someone at DHS, because he'll tell Stephen Miller, this is what I want done. Stephen Miller will get the word to the appropriate deputy downstream, and it will get done. And he cuts out the middleman. He cuts out the person who can stand there and go, Mr. President, not a good idea.
Do you go so far as to believe this is by design? Or do you think he just gets frustrated and this is what he does?
I think, yes, it's by design, because it's the design Donald Trump has had for himself since he's been Donald Trump. So this is nothing new. All we're seeing is the transplantation of what he's done as a businessman, how he's run Trump world, and he's now doing that on a national stage with himself as the CEO of the United States.
I guess the difference is no one's lives were in danger if his reality show went amok. This is not a victimless crime. They're the most vulnerable human beings on the planet. And
that's where you would think, to the point that was made earlier about empathy, you would think that that trigger would kick in and you go, I really can't carry this weight as this crisis begins to emerge on the border by myself. But the mind that he has won't allow him to do that.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.